dense concentrations of ionized air that hang together and can be basketball, soccer ball size, sometimes smaller. And they tend to float in the air. They've been known to go through closed windows. I don't think anybody really knows what people are seeing when they see big balls of light. As far as we know, these are not ball lightning. And of course, people see them in clear blue skies, totally unassociated with thunderstorms.
The vast majority are balls of light. 95% plus of the UFO databases, no matter where you go, are these odd balls of light. So that's why we primarily analyze them.
Michael Persinger called in an expert on earthquakes.
What I find interesting is to try to associate these balls of light with earthquakes, because we know that large earthquakes generate very bright lights in the sky.
In 1966, during an earthquake in Japan, this glow lit up the night sky. Persinger and Durr set out to discover if earthquakes were generating their balls of light. They found one strange UFO cluster in Colorado. In 1963, hundreds of millions of gallons of toxic waste from a munitions factory was pumped down a 2-mile deep well. Unfortunately, the fluids lubricated a fault system. Over the 5 years of active injection, 1,500 earthquakes were recorded.
You have a fault zone where the rocks are pressed hard together, but if you put some lubrication on that surface, then they're going to slip. Well, we're putting a lot of pressure into the ground, and the ground is cracking and it's bending. And every time you have some sort of strain, you have an elastic wave that's radiated out from it. You can think of a rubber band that's stretched, and you can come along with a pair of scissors and cut it, and there's all this energy released as the pieces fly apart.
The lubrication created a knock-on effect. A slow ripple of minor tremors moved away from the injection point. It travelled at speeds of between 30 and 80 miles per month. And just before the quakes reached a district, there was a rash of UFO lights reported.
So it would be fluid injection, strain, UFO reports, earthquakes, in that repetitive cycle.
UFO lights and earthquakes are linked. Light can be created by rocks.
Triboluminescence means light produced by friction, the rubbing together of two surfaces. Many minerals produce this phenomenon, but one of the best known is quartz. And so I have some quartz here with which I will demonstrate this.
This is the first ever film of the release of triboluminescent energy by rocks. There is another possibility. When the Earth moves, the enormous forces crush the crystals that form the rocks. Pulverizing crystals by pressure can release light.
Piezoelectrics literally means pressure electricity, and when we stress or scratch or compress rock crystals such as quartz, it is found that there is a generation of charge within the crystal, and sometimes this can lead to the evolution of light, tiny sparks and flashes within the crystal itself.
Alan Mills can demonstrate this by crushing almost any crystal, in this case sugar cubes. Crushing rock under much greater pressure in an earthquake zone will do the same. In complete darkness, our cameras catch the flash of light released from the sugar cube. But there's a problem. No one knows how this energy could travel from deep in the earth to become a floating ball of light. But why are lights seen in advance of any tremor underground? The mystery remains unsolved. If lights are linked to tremors, does this explain the UFOs seen at Yakima? Persinger and Durr found that the lights do appear above local fault lines.
This is per month. The faces, there we go. These are UFO reports along one direction. A series coming in the other direction, and then a quake should be predictable right in the center. There it is, the asterisk. we found that these balls of light would suddenly become more intense and more frequent during the same months when there was an increase in earthquake activity in the vicinity of the reservation.
Dancing balls of light are still not fully explained, but it seems clear that the answer will be found inside the Earth. However, Michael Persinger and John Durr's research into earthquakes does not explain all close encounters with UFOs.
The tectonic strain theory of UFOs has been designed to try to answer the question, why so many of these glowing balls of light seen at Yakima? But the problem is that mixed in with sightings of balls of light have been other objects. There's also been close encounters.
We deliberately exclude close encounters types of sightings.
What might appear to be spacecraft, there appear to be abductions.
What do you want with me? What do you want with me?
In the last 15 years, tens of thousands of people have come forward to describe their experiences at the hands of alien abductors. They recount tales that range from the tranquil to the terrifying. Messages of goodwill, horrific medical examinations, and the removal of fetuses and hybrid babies. People have been abducted whilst driving or when secure in their beds. One of the most famous and convincing cases occurred more than 20 years ago in Arizona.
My name is Travis Walton. I'm presently employed as a purchasing agent. I was working in these woods as a tree sawyer back in 1975.
Well, my name is Michael Rogers, and in 1975 I was a logger right here on this spot. I was the crew boss of a group of guys, of which Travis Walton was a member. And today, that's what I'm still doing. I'm still doing the same kind of work.
We just finished up, loaded our chainsaws and stuff in the back of the truck when we spotted a strange light coming through the trees.
Just light coming through the trees.
The longer I looked, the stranger it was. One of the guys in the back yelled out, "It's a spaceship."
Travis jumped out of the truck to go get a closer look at it.
As I hurried towards it, I noticed that it wasn't moving away.
It was a large glowing object, a disc-shaped object, a UFO.
A disc, a metallic disc hovering there less than 100 feet away.
The color of the object itself was sort of a golden color, like the color of metal out of a blast furnace, you know, the color of steel.
Now, this was not some little hazy ball of glowing gas off in the distance. This was, I mean, it was a clearly defined mechanical object.
It just struck me as being quite perfect and quite beautiful.
It kind of had a sort of a rumbling sort of effect. It kind of like shook you inside, had a power to it, but it was kind of like almost below the threshold of hearing.
At one point there where the thing started moving and started making more noise, and it started wobbling and it kind of raised up.
And the guys in the truck were yelling at me, "Stop, what are you doing?" You know, and get away from there and all this stuff.
And this thing by this time was making a lot of strange sounds.
And so I was having second thoughts about what I was doing.
He crouched down behind a log.
I just dove for cover.
You could see the truck shaking, and I could feel it through the steering wheel, and it was just shaking like this. And that's when things got really hairy.
I made up my mind right then, I'm getting out of here. And so I raised up to go.
This beam came out of this thing like a bright bluish beam of energy of some kind, and it struck him in the chest and head area.
And wham, something hit me.
Just momentarily, it was like blinding. I couldn't see for like a second.